Welcome to Farm Your Daily, a Field Forward podcast. I'm your host, David Geiger. Today on Farm Your Daily, harvest is a busy time, so for Wellness Wednesday, we chat with Jay Sturtz of Landus about the best practices to take care of your business, your family, and yourself. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Your Daily. And joining me on Farm Your Daily, we have Jay Sturtz, the Business Operations Manager with Landus, here for Wellness Wednesday, talking about prioritizing and taking care of yourself during the busy harvest season. Things that he sees that work and don't work. Jay, thank you so much for joining us on Farm Your Daily. And to start off, let's just take a broad approach. What are some of the ways you can take care of yourself during harvest?
Whether you're, on the farm or here at the co-op, stress is the biggest thing, right? Everybody's in a hurry all the time. And I would say, the biggest thing is to slow down and take that time, take a breath when things aren't going well. And is it really an emergency? Is it something that can be fixed? Somebody made a mistake, whether, it was the wrong scale ticket here at the office or a little corn got spilled out in the farm, whatever that is, to take that breath and realize that, it's a long harvest. We got a lot of hours ahead of us, and to just make sure that we're slowing down and understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And also while you're doing that, to look out for your help and your family members too, and make sure that they're handling everything well.
I would definitely like to narrow down on family members in just a moment, but I wanted to go over that slow down aspect because during harvest, it is not uncommon from my experience in seeing farmers at work to have 18-hour, sometimes 20-hour days because you only have so much time in the day and periods of days that may be dry enough to harvest. So you got to do it, and you got to do it at that time. What is a way to slow down when there's still a lot of work to do?
The best thing that I can, I guess, say is, we're here, you're right. They're out in the field probably by 7 o'clock in the morning. They're out there till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Their phone's going off. They probably have two-way radios in there. Sometimes it might be good just to put that phone on silent, shut that radio off for a minute, gather your thoughts, then turn everything back on and go from there. And understand that, everybody around you is trying to do the best they can. We're all human. Stuff's going to happen, and just, handle it as it comes and take a deep breath. Like I said, I'm going to keep going back to the deep breath thing, right? It works well for me, and I think it would work well for everybody.
I really like that idea of doing a actual physical reset. You just turn everything off, you turn everything on again. It's a nice visual for yourself of, hey, I'm going to breathe for a second and I'm going to keep going. I really appreciate that. When you're dealing with family, because sometimes those are also your coworkers, when you're dealing with family, you're also going to be dealing with a lot of stress as well because you all are doing your best to help the farm out. But there's going to be differences in maybe expectations or maybe points on, I'm starving, so I want to eat. I want to eat something. Can we take a break now versus taking a break in an hour from now? Because we're on a roll, and I'm on a roll. I want to keep going because I'm doing well. How do you balance expectations and working with family members during this time?
Well, from personal experience, my daughter works down here part-time during harvest, and so does my son. And I have found that over the years that I treat my family harder than I treat employees because they are my kids and the expectations are probably a little bit different. And you have to watch yourself and make sure you're treating them as an employee and not as a child or a spouse. My wife has worked here before too to help out part-time. And with family, you have to remember that you're in a work setting and you have to treat them like an employee. Outside of work, I've been fortunate enough that my kids are all either in Ames or Boone now. So every Sunday night around 6:30, what we have Sunday supper at our house. Invite my mom and dad over most Sundays too. And if everybody can make it, great. Significant others are welcome. And that's just kind of our time to just be together as a family for that hour or two. We've been doing that now for a couple of months. and it's worked great so far. I did miss this last Sunday due to having to be at work, and that's fine. I mean, the family understands that. It's harvest, right? That's when the farmers are getting their paycheck for the year, and it's agriculture, and then they all know it. But that's really worked well, and I think, and I hope. I know there used to be a lot of farmers at night. Food would be brought to the field, and they would stop and maybe hop in the minivan or the car or whatever, and just kind of eat supper for a minute. And I'm 99% sure that doesn't happen anymore. It's on the go. They hand it to you and you're off again. And, sometimes that 5-10 minute break can really put stuff in perspective for people.
My family does a similar thing on Sundays, except ours is lunch right after church. We all just kind of gather together. Sometimes it includes my aunts and uncles. Sometimes it's just me and my sister and my mom. Sometimes just having that space, though, of everyone can go there if they need to, is really a great opportunity to build and continue to build that community, making time for everyone else. And I think making time is another aspect of harvest as well, because there is... I did not grow on a farm, and so I don't have necessarily the full experience of what it's truly like during harvest. But I can imagine that during that time, there are sometimes things that normally get done that aren't getting done because harvest is going on. There are relationships that normally you make time for that you don't have the time for at that period of time. And that can cause some stress or some issues with the relationships. And most folks may go, well, this is harvest. It happens every year, and that this is a stressful time, and we'll get back to normal after harvest is done. But there are some people, and relationships are built on understanding tolerances of different people and understanding the tolerances of your loved ones and where their lines are and where their lines are not, and how you can love them in those ways. So how do you go through those tolerances of, I really do have work to do, but I know that my wife needs this or my kids need that, and wanting to also make time for that? Do you sacrifice sleep? How do you get that done?
Unfortunately, it's probably a sleep. Yeah. And from the farmer perspective, one of the neat things with the equipment they have now, almost all the equipment has what they call a buddy seat in it, right? So whether your kids can come out and ride in the combine or the tractor, or your significant other, however that works, is a great time to use that. I'm very good too, if there's people here in the office and they have little kids and stuff, and they want to get some work done, but hey, can I bring my kid in for the last hour of the day? Absolutely. Bring them in, let them play, let them do whatever, run around the office. It doesn't matter, right? That way that they get to spend time with their kids, and why they still feel like they're doing what they need to at work. So I really do that. I always tell our employees, if you have a wedding coming up, an anniversary, a birthday, just give us notice, right? We will schedule around. You need a Saturday off to go to a wedding or whatever it may be, absolutely go do it. That is way more important than this. Or if in a bad case where something's wrong with a family member, right? Family is more important than work. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, this location is going to open up, right? And we're going to take care of the farmer. So go take care of your family and your friends. And the same with the farmer, right? If something happens and you don't get combine till noon one day, or you got to shut down for a day, it'll be there tomorrow. And that's easy for me to say, right? Because I don't have that investment made in that field. It's a lot of dollars out there, and I truly understand that. But sometimes that's just what you need to do. The big picture of it, you get when harvest hits, and I always say you kind of get down in that tunnel or that rut and you just go, right? And then when it rains, your head kind of peaks up, and then as soon as it happens again, you're back down in there. And we need to, peek our head up and look around a little bit more, just when it's, not just because it rained and slowed down, but, day to day.
This is Farm Year Daily. We will have more conversations on the way, but first, let's take a look at the marketplace. And there was some red on the board for the Wednesday market close. December corn 2 3/4 cents down, 4.26 3/4. March 2.5 weaker at 4.44.5. Soybeans in November 6 cents lower at 10.43 3/4, with January a decrease of 6 1/4 at 10.63. Soybean meal in October $1.90 a ton in the red, $283.90. Soybean oil in October a penny and a half lower at 51.24 a pound. Wheat in December 5 3/4 down, 5.28 1/4, with March 5.5 weaker at 5.46 1/4. Hard red winter wheat in December, 7 1/4 down at 5.16 1/4, with March down 7 cents at 5.37 1/4. In the livestock market, close for Wednesday, October live cattle down $2.35 a hundredweight, $231.10. December falling $2.47 at $232.67. Feeder cattle in October, $5.17 a hundredweight down at $349.12, with November a decrease of $5.27 at $344.12. Lean hogs in October, 5 cents a hundredweight weaker at $97.32, with December a decrease of 57 cents at $87.65 a hundredweight. That is the Wednesday market close. This is Farm Here Daily. I really like that idea of just communicating, right? If you communicate to a family member who needs more personal time, who needs more quality time, then just communicate and say, hey, I'm super busy, but you can totally come out to the field and be in the combine if you want to spend some time with me. If you want to have that extra minute or two, if you want to have 20 minutes, even an hour just hanging out in the combine with me, I would love for you to do that. But they sometimes won't know that you're open to that until you openly communicate and say, hey, I can't actually make it out there to do the things I normally do, but I still would love to spend time with you, and you can spend time with me if you do this. And that way it allows a little room for compromise. And on the subject of communication during this season, how valuable is it to communicate when you need support or need help, or you may be missing your lunch because you didn't have time today to go get it? How it's hard to ask for help. I'm the worst at asking for help. I don't want to do it. I think I'm a burden on other people. I don't want to bother them. I can do it, but it's hard, and sometimes I'll skip the things that I need. And I understand a lot of farmers are like that as well. They don't want to ask for help. They don't want to ask for support, even when they need it. How do you communicate to people, hey, like, this is okay. This is a time where you can do that.
You just, if you see somebody, or if you're talking to them on the phone, you can usually tell that something isn't right, and if you're, with family, especially as you talk with that, you see when your spouse is stressed out over harvest, right? And that something's gone wrong or they've had a bad day. But on the flip side of that, you also have to remember that while you're out there in the field, your significant other is home with the kids, still doing what goes on every night, and if you have young kids, you're probably chasing them around. Kids are involved, I think, in 16,000 activities anymore, and doing all that type of stuff. And also remember to see how they're doing, right? I mean, harvest, like I'll say, it's very important. I mean, and it's a great time of year. It's my favorite time of year. All the hard work that everybody put in, you're reaping those benefits now. The crop's coming in, the weather's beautiful, but just look out. And everybody should have somebody that they can call, right? Whether it's a friend, a spouse, whoever, when you're having that bad day and just like, but I got to dump my bucket for 2 minutes here. I got you, brother. Let's what's going on. And from the farm side, maybe that's another farmer. Maybe that's your wife. Maybe it's, if you're farming with your dad, your uncle, your brother, your sister, it's them, or a trusted, hired man or person. So the biggest thing is, I've saw some of the biggest physically tough people out there, that really needed people to talk to, and they keep that inside. So it's okay, to have somebody to talk to and let it out. Right.
I 100% agree with that. 100%. And in fact, I would go and say to people who are not farmers and listening in, that especially that are men who, we don't necessarily like to talk emotions or talk about what we're feeling or going through as much. I think it's important to not just assume that your buddy knows that you'll always be there for them, but to just, especially during stressful times, to just let them know. Say, hey, I know this is a busy time for you. I want you to know that I am always a phone call away. You can always reach out to me, and I'd be happy to listen to whatever it is. And sometimes that level of encouragement is needed for some personalities to actually be willing to then open up and do that, because you may assume I would be mad if you didn't call me. Like, that could be your assumption. Yeah. I know a lot of guys are like, I would be angry if you did not call me during an important time where you were really stressed out and you needed somebody. I would be angry at you if you didn't do that for me and I wasn't there for you. But they don't know that. They don't know that until you tell them. And so that communication is just so valuable during this time.
Yeah. Just call them. Hey, buddy, I'm just checking in. Didn't need anything. Just seeing how you're doing. That's something that's just that simple sometimes.
Absolutely. I guess to kind of sum up some of this in kind of wrapping up a concept of keeping care of yourself. What would you suggest as a way to plan ahead, especially since for some there is still maybe a week or two until they really get into harvest? What would be a good way to plan ahead and make sure that you are set up for success from a business standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, from a safety standpoint?
From a business standpoint, and I mean, whether how we handle things here at Landus or how you do on the farm, we start planning for harvest several months ago, right? And we have a plan and we discuss it every 2-3 weeks. And then when harvest hits, you adjust to your plan, but everybody knows, from the first kernel that comes into the last what the plan is. And of course, you got to be flexible because that changes. Scheduling your help, don't wait to the last minute to do that. Your help that you're hiring, we bring in a lot of seasonal people. They've got a lot going on outside of here too. So get the schedule made, get it in front of them. So that's well organized. On the mental side, once again, at the end of the day, you've had some bad days and you stop and think about it and, nobody was dying. The world's not going to come to an end. It's going to be fine. We got through it. Might not have been the way we wanted it to go. But it worked out. Health-wise, I think, of course, stay hydrated. That's a big thing. I'll catch myself or I'll realize I've drank a pot and a half of coffee and I haven't had a glass of water yet today. So hey, Jay, let's get some water in, and take, if you can, even if you're out in the combine all day long, you can probably sit in there for 14 hours and only get out to use the restroom. Don't be afraid to stop and get out and stretch legs and walk around the machine a little bit, get some fresh air and just take that 5-10 minute break. It'll waken you up. It'll get your mind fresh. And business standpoint, I've been known when I need to get away, I might go hop on a lawnmower and go mow the grass for 10 minutes because I'm doing something productive. But I don't hear my phone, or I'll hop in my truck and just go for a quick 3-mile drive around just to get away and then come back and tackle it then. But the biggest thing that I found, this is my 25th or 6th year harvest at the co-op, is have a plan and work your plan, and then you can't be afraid to ask, as we talked about, for help, whether it's just, I need help figuring this out. I'm having a bad day. I just need to talk to somebody and manage your stress through that.
Jay, as we finish up our conversation, you mentioned earlier on that Landus is available to support farmers during harvest. What are some ways that you guys are helping out, or ways farmers can ask for support?
Yeah, if we have one of our members or any farmer out there that's having a tough time and needs somebody to talk to, please reach out to us here at Landus. We can get you in touch with Dara and Doug, who are great people for that, and they can get you in connection with others if needed. But if you're having a hard time out there, you need somebody to talk to, please make sure you reach out to us here at Landus, because we're always here. That's what we're here for. We're here for the farmer.
Jay Sturtz is the Business Operations Manager for Landus, joining us on Wellness Wednesday. Jay, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
This is Farm Your Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community. So please follow the podcast as well as our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.